Hey kids and parents, welcome to our PragerU Kids Marathon starting right now. Get ready to enjoy all your favorite shows celebrating our American values and history. You're gonna have a ton of fun. It starts now.
Have you ever been blamed for something you didn't do? Broke a vase? Ate all the pickles? Cut all the cheese? If you're the person that got blamed, how does that make you feel? You want the culprit to take responsibility for what they did. I guess you could say you want them to own their actions. No one likes people that blame everyone else for their problems. So don't be that people. Don't. Here are 4 tips to start taking ownership of your life. Number 1, realize no one cares. This is not a roast or a stupid meme. This is reality. Outside of your family and a few friends and a Nigerian prince who wants to send you a check in the mail, no one really cares about you that much. The point is, no one is gonna care about your life like you do. So if you wanna have a good life, it's up to you to make it happen. Number 2, stop using the word fair. Have you ever heard this?
Why isn't my life fair?
This is the wrong question. The reason life isn't fair to you is simple. Because life isn't fair to anyone. Life is kind of like gravity. Don't expect it to pull you any direction except for straight down to the burning hot core of the earth. Life treats everyone the same, with a bat to the face. Some people get hit harder than others, but everyone gets hit. Everyone has problems. Money problems, family problems, relationship problems, broken phone problems, diarrhea problems, dead pig problems, bad day at work problems, or the plague. Stop focusing on problems. Complaining is nothing special. If you want to stand out, focus on how you can solve those problems. Number 3, know your worst enemy. A lot of people suspect someone is out to get them. That behind every bush, a secret enemy is waiting to stop them from getting good grades or becoming a good athlete or whatever the heck you want. Well, this is true. And if you want to know who that lurking enemy is, go to your nearest sketchy bathroom. Open the door, turn on the faucet, wash your hands from the germs you just picked up from the bathroom door, and look in the mirror. Yeah, you are your own worst enemy. Now, you may be thinking,
I love myself. I think positive thoughts about me.
That's nice. But loving yourself doesn't mean making a bunch of bad decisions because it feels good. It means doing what's actually best for you. So stop hurting yourself. I mean, come on, you're the one that chose to eat that 3rd bag of chips or that 8th slice of cake. It wasn't some guy in a bush that forced you to fail that exam because you stayed up all night binge watching The Mandalorian. It was you. Stop making excuses for the stupid stuff you do in the name of self-love. Start loving yourself like a true friend. Number 4, own your decisions. Nobody wants to be a puppet. People want to be independent. They want to make their own decisions and do their own things and be their own person. Freedom! But how do you find this freedom? Some people think following their feelings is the path to freedom.
So what are you gonna do, bruh? How are you gonna find freedom?
I'm gonna follow the star in my heart and do whatever I want. Yeah!
This works in the movies, but not real life. When are you ever gonna feel like doing your homework, or eating that salad, or feel like doing those 50 push-ups, or feel like being a generous and caring person? Unless you're Mother Teresa, you probably won't. And if you are Mother Teresa, that is concerning. The point is, if you follow your feelings, you will not be free. You will be controlled by your feelings, which constantly change and usually compel you to do really stupid things. Freedom comes with discipline, which means instead of your feelings making your decisions, you make your decisions. You and only you can prevent stupid fires in your life. You control the brain that's connected to your arm that has the hand with the fingers that are holding that 8th slice of cake. Not your feelings. You don't have to do it. No one's gonna force you to do it. People sometimes say,
I just couldn't help myself. They made me do it.
that does not work in court, and that will not work with your creator on Judgment Day, or Judge Judy. Because it's your free will decision, no one else's. You will never be truly free until you stop letting your feelings control you. In summary, the bad news is life isn't fair, and things outside of your control will pull you down and beat you up. But the good news is, the one common denominator between you and all your problems is you. And when you take ownership of your own stupid, life still won't be fair, but it'll be a heck of a lot better. So go look yourself in the mirror, because it's time to stand up against your own worst enemy. Thank you for watching this how-to video for PragerU. We hope you learned something new. We'll see you next time. Life isn't fair. I got pizza stains in my insides.
Hey, Layla. Have you heard what happened to Dad?
Not just heard, I'm watching it happen online. You're always whining about not having a phone, but you're lucky not to have one right now.
You probably shouldn't look at social media.
Yeah, Mom told me to stay off for a while. I should. People are saying really mean, crazy things about Dad and trying to get the business boycotted.
What's boycotted?
It means that the people who don't like what Dad said at the school board meeting are trying to close his business down.
What?
I know. People are being so mean. There's even a petition to get all his ads taken down from Facebook and Google.
Without any customers, Dad won't make any money. And without any money, we won't be able to go on the ski trip. Layla, I've never seen snow. We can't miss that trip. Dad needs to apologize.
Leo, the ski trip is not that important. I'm proud of Dad for standing up for what he believes in.
I don't understand why people are so mad.
Me neither. He just said he thought parents should know what teachers teach us. Even if he's wrong, shouldn't he have the right to say his opinion?
I can't believe the video went viral.
Well, Dad was pretty upset, but he has a right to freedom of speech.
Yeah. Last time I got in trouble, I told Mrs. Johnson that America is a free country, and that got me in more trouble. I don't understand free speech.
Leo, it's very different when you're a kid in school. Dad is an adult.
I'm confused.
I need to take my mind off this. Let's go learn about freedom of speech. I have a feeling we're gonna need to become experts.
Sounds good to me. Maybe we can help Dad.
No one on earth has any other way left but upward.
Hello, sir. We're from the future.
We're Americans, and in our time, there are lots of arguments about having the right of free speech.
Our dad spoke at a meeting and made a lot of people mad, and now they're trying to punish him.
But he didn't do anything wrong. He just said what he believes in.
Do you have time to help us understand the right of free speech?
Perhaps, but I don't know. I don't know you. Maybe you are secret communist kids sent from communist future to trick me into talking about freedom so you can squash.
That's my sister Layla. I'm Leo. No freedom squash.
No squash. We love freedom and just want to help our dad and try to understand what's going on.
Okay. I will help you. I am Alexander Solzhenitsyn.
Solzhenitsyn?
Is it okay if we call you Mr. S?
Certainly. Russian names like mine can be very difficult for Westerners. The speech I just gave was a warning to your great country for what will happen if you do not protect free society. It sounds like not enough people listen to me.
It's not too late. Teach us about free speech and we can spread the word to our friends.
I am really popular. I have lots of friends.
Ugh, get over yourself. But it is true. She has a ton of friends.
Why are you an expert on freedom of speech?
Let me tell you my story. In 1918, I was born in Russia.
Russia.
Who was that?
That is ghost of Stalin. Stalin was dictator of Soviet Union. I am Otto, and my books have destroyed the way people remember him. So his ghost tries to hunt me. But as you can see, he is very wimpy.
Huh. Communist ghosts in 1978? Well, okay.
My childhood was lived under new communist Soviet rulers who took control of Russia after revolution. My family farm was taken by communists, and my Christian faith was made illegal. But despite this, I love my homeland and served during World War II.
Were you a soldier?
I was commander for Red Army and was honored several times for being hero in combat against invading Nazis. But as war was winding down, I began having questions and criticisms of communism, and specifically of Stalin, who was dictator.
That's not okay under communism, right? Saying anything bad about the dictator is against the law.
Stalin held all power and authority, and since I questioned his leadership in letters and conversations, I was punished and sent to Gulag.
Woo! Off to the Gulag! Off to the Gulag!
What's the gulag?
Gulags were work prisons, in the worst places imaginable. Prisoners lived with insects, parasites, and rats, and were forced to work all day, every day. Many prisoners were worked to death, and some starved and froze from cold. By grace of God, I survived, and after Stalin died, I was freed.
Let me get this straight. You got all that horrible punishment just because you said a couple bad things about your government?
Correct. Once released, I found job as teacher and spent nights writing books about life, about freedom, and about horrors of Gulag. My books have made me very famous, but they made the communists very angry. I was not put back in Gulag, but I was kicked out of the country and cannot go back.
Thank goodness we have freedom of speech in America. People in our time complain about our leaders all the time, but they aren't punished.
I don't know, Layla. Nobody's getting thrown in a gulag, but people are getting punished just for their opinions and what they say. Look at Dad.
What has happened to Father?
He spoke at a school board meeting and questioned the education leadership. He doesn't like what's going on, and he's now getting attacked for speaking up.
Sounds familiar.
All he said was that schools and parents should agree on what gets taught to us kids. And now people who didn't like what he said are saying bad things about him, trying to hurt his business and punish him and his family.
Ah, I feared this. It was public meeting, right?
Yes, a public meeting about our schools, and people recorded what he said, and now it's all over the news.
Some people really like what he said, but it seems like more don't, and they're really loud.
Woo! Sneaking in through schools! Government controls everything, even your children! Woo!
Hey, that's kind of what Dad was saying during his speech.
He got really mad and said schools weren't respecting parents' rights. Then his microphone was turned off and he couldn't finish talking.
Father is very brave. He is warrior for freedom.
Why do you think they wouldn't let him speak?
Let's let Ghost answer. Your education leaders are trying to silence Father for same reason Stalin threw me in Gulag. Ghost?
Yes?
Why did you really throw me in Gulag to be punished?
Because I was afraid of losing control of my power. You were telling the truth, and I couldn't defend my bad leadership and bad ideas, so I had to shut you up. It's what us communists do. Control the language, control the people. Woo!
I think I understand. People who don't like freedom of speech are afraid because they don't want to defend their opinions. They're scared of hearing things they don't like to hear.
Precisely. If freedom means anything, it means be able to say things others don't want to hear.
I have a question, Mr. S. What about freedom of speech for kids at school? Last time I got in trouble in class, I told my teacher that I shouldn't be in trouble because we live in a free country. She got really mad and I got in even more trouble. Then my parents took her side.
Leo, it is very important for Americans to love and cherish your freedom, because in world it is not common to be free. But it is also important to understand freedom does not mean that you are free from responsibility. When you are a student, you have a responsibility to respect your teacher and not be rude.
So it's not okay to joke around in school?
Jokes are wonderful. When I was a teacher, my favorite students told good jokes. But respecting freedom of speech requires you understand proper time and place.
Sometimes that's hard.
It can be very difficult. Life is very complicated and tricky. Most situations are not simple. That is why it's so important to have conversations where different opinions can be heard.
Ooh, no conversation and no jokes, or off to the gulag! Woo!
This is why bad leaders are always on attack of free speech. They make no room for differences or middle ground compromise. You are on their side completely, or you are their enemy.
What if Dad loses his business?
American hero Benjamin Franklin once said, "Those who choose comfort over freedom will have neither." Your father must fight. Everything depends on freedom.
We met Mr. Franklin. He's great. And that makes sense. Without freedom, a business doesn't matter.
Yeah, Dad needs to keep speaking up and fighting. After talking to you, Mr. S, I'm really proud of Dad.
Very good, Leo. Now, back to your time to help him. And don't forget to be funny, but respectful student.
Okay, I will. Bye, Mr. Solzhenitsyn.
Bye, Mr. S. Thanks.
If you are interested in time traveling again, please subscribe to PragerU.com/kids and watch more of our adventures.
Welcome to Craftery, Crafts plus History by PragerU Resources for Educators and Parents. Today is special because I've got friends with me, Will.
Hello.
And Amala.
Hi.
All right, you two, do you have any idea what we're doing here?
No idea.
Good! Today is a little bit different than a regular craftery because instead of a craft, we're actually hosting a 4th of July declaration ceremony for you. Have you ever heard of a 4th of July declaration ceremony?
No?
I haven't.
You haven't because it's something very unique to PragerU. This is a party that you can have at home with your family and friends. It's a ton of fun and it's really special to do for our nation's birthday. Okay, here's what you need. Iced tea, salty pretzels, strawberries, blueberries, whipped cream, a small bell, an American coin, any American coin, and a printed Declaration of Independence. So this short ceremony teaches us the meaning of Independence Day and reminds us how lucky we all are to be Americans. We are lucky, right?
Yes.
We are.
Oh, very lucky. Okay, are you two ready for all of this?
Let's go.
Let's go. A great way to start this party is to remember that before America was a nation, it was a
Dream.
It was a dream, yes! It began with the Pilgrims in 1620 who fled Europe so they could be free to practice their religion as they saw fit. They built lives in a land with limitless opportunities. About 150 years later, Americans were ready to break away from the old world. And on July 4th, 1776, our founding fathers took action and declared freedom from the tyranny of the King of England. Yes!
Let's go.
Now, we cannot forget that thousands fought and died for the freedom and liberty we have now, and that's where we are. So, pop quiz, Amala. Why is America different from all other countries?
So, in 1776, most countries were based on nationality, religion, ethnicity, or geography, and America was based on a set of ideas.
That's right, and that's why I told you this is why we brought the friends, because friends know great stuff, especially you two. Will, what are those ideas that make America so special?
You can see them on every coin. You have E pluribus unum, liberty, and in God we trust.
Yes, liberty, of course, means that we're free to pursue our dreams and work hard to be as successful as we can. In God we trust. Amala, I'll let you take this one.
Means that our rights are given to us by God.
That's right, and no human can take away our rights. And E pluribus unum, Will, means?
From many one. America is made up of all sorts of different cultures, ethnicities, religions, but we all come together to make America what it is today.
Yes, and it is unique. So, are you ready for the treats?
Yes.
Been ready.
Yes, been ready. Okay. All of these things here on our table, things that you can put on your table, symbolize America's Declaration of Independence and the Revolutionary War that followed. So, let's start with a toast with our tea.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we drink our sweet iced tea to remember the Boston Tea Party when patriots dumped British tea into the ocean instead of paying unfair taxes to King George. Cheers.
Cheers.
And everybody take a sip.
That was more than a sip, Will.
It's good tea.
It's all right, it's a party. Pretzels. Now, pretzels remember the suffering of the salty tears of soldiers during the harsh winter at Valley Forge. The army was, of course, led by George Washington. Everybody take a bite. See the salt? The salty tears of the soldiers. That's what we gotta remember. And another sip of the tea.
Gotta wash down the salt.
You got it. Our bell. Now we ring a small bell to remember when our great Liberty Bell, now in Philadelphia, rang to proclaim the surrender of King George's armies. Woo! Woo!
America!
All right, now the best part, the part you two have been waiting for. We eat strawberries and blueberries and whipped cream to celebrate our American flag. Now, we know, of course, that the colors of our flag are red, white, and blue.
Right.
What does red stand for?
Hardiness and valor.
Yes, it means we're strong. What does blue stand for?
Justice and perseverance.
Yes, and white stands for purity. Okay, guys, go.
That's amazing.
Tastes like America.
Now, we know that America is not perfect, but our ideals, opportunities, and history of always wanting to become better are things we can all be proud of, yes?
Yes,
And we are
definitely.
proud to be Americans.
Of course.
Of course we
proudest.
are. So we've got one last thing to do. Sign our names on the copy of our Declaration of Independence. Ladies first, Amala.
Okay.
Yay!
Jill, that is a fantastic signature.
Yes! And that is our 4th of July declaration ceremony. But I have one more surprise for both of you.
Do you?
More whipped cream?
Later, yes. This is a special party favor. If you haven't seen it yet, or maybe you have, our brand new Otto's Tales book, the National Anthem and Pledge of Allegiance.
Nice.
Now this is for kindergarten through 2nd grade, but Will, I have a feeling you're really gonna like it. Take a look on the inside. Show us the pictures.
Look at that.
A perfect way, beautiful, right? It's a perfect way to celebrate America and the 4th of July with your family and friends at home. You can find out more information about how to get the book on our website, and we wish all of you the happiest 4th of July ever. Keep learning and keep celebrating land of the free and home of the brave. Bye, guys.
God bless America.
You guys are great. Welcome to Otto's Tales, story time brought to you by PragerU Kids. I'm Jill, and today we are reading about my most favorite holiday ever. Hey, Otto! Christmas? I do love Christmas, but we're not reading about Christmas today. Good guess, though. My most favorite holiday ever is... Otto! How sweet! Valentine's Day! I do love Valentine's Day, but we're not reading about Valentine's Day today. Good guess, though. My most favorite holiday... 4th of July? Flag Day? I do love them, but not today. I do have a hint for you. What do you think? Well, hey! Well, today's story takes us on an adventure with Dennis and Otto all the way back to the year 1620. Can you guess what it is? Let's read Otto's Tales. Today is Thanksgiving. Ruff, ruff! I'm Otto. My best friend Dennis and I smelled something yummy cooking in the kitchen. Dennis's mom was making a big dinner for the whole family. There was turkey, stuffing, gravy, cranberry sauce, green bean casserole, and pumpkin pie. It must be Thanksgiving, I barked. We grabbed some spatulas and hopped into the laundry basket. This is our canoe, said Dennis, and these are our oars. Can this be our time machine? I asked. Sure thing, Otto. We can use it to go back in time and learn about the first Thanksgiving. Row, 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 I barked. We're going on another big adventure. Zoom! Off to 1620. We found ourselves at sea. A ship called the Mayflower was on a perilous journey. From Holland, 102 pilgrims set sail on that ship. The voyage lasted 66 days and was a very dangerous trip. The pilgrims gave up comfort and went to sea to roam. They headed for the New World in hopes of finding a new home. Instead, they landed near a place now called Plymouth Rock. This unplanned destination gave them quite a shock. They found a deserted village with water and stored food. They hoped to trade with the villagers, not wanting to be rude. But disease had plagued this village, and all the natives died. So the pilgrims settled there and cared for the land with pride. Dennis, how will the pilgrims survive the heat and cold? A native named Squanto helped them. That's what I've been told. Zoom! We grabbed our oars and climbed into our canoe. We paddled to 1621 to see if that was true. Look, Dennis, there's Squanto. Let's go say hi. I'm Squanto. Nice to meet you, said the super friendly guy. He showed us how to fish and plant a crop called maize. He helped the pilgrims and taught them many native ways. Thank you, I said to Squanto, wagging my stumpy tail. Without your help, Plymouth Colony would surely fail. Who's that? I asked Dennis, pointing at a man. That's Massasoit. He's the chief of the natives' clan. Dennis continued, the colony is under William Bradford's supervision. He believed Squanto was heaven sent and evidence of God's provision. With Squanto, the pilgrims and natives established good relations. He interpreted for both sides and helped negotiations. The natives and pilgrims signed a treaty of peace. Success and happiness for everyone increased. There was a big harvest that year and crops aplenty. Everyone had food to eat and no bellies were left empty. The pilgrims and natives held a big celebration. Squanto was there and helped them with translation. What we call the first Thanksgiving took place that year. Massasoit and 90 natives brought gifts of hunted deer. A good time was had by everyone who was there. God provided, said Bradford. There is so much bounty to share. Dennis, I said, I can't wait to put this food inside my tummy. Meat, turkey, fish, and corn all look so yummy. Thank you, said Dennis, for being so kind. You're welcome, they said. Enjoy your journey through time. We waved goodbye, got into our canoe, and zoom! Rowed back to Dennis's room. Dennis and Otto, it's time for dinner, called Dennis's mother. I'll race you to the table, shouted Dennis's big brother. We ran to the room from which their mom was calling and saw a spread on the table that was absolutely sprawling. Everyone was dressed up because it was Thanksgiving night. The candles and decorations were such a lovely sight. The table was covered with yummy food. I couldn't believe my eyes. There was turkey and stuffing and pecan and pumpkin pies. Mom and Dad said to everyone, let's all take our seats. Mom, gasped Dennis, did you make all these tasty treats? She did, said Dennis's dad. Your mom really is the best. To be with you on Thanksgiving, she said, I truly feel blessed. Dennis said, we just came from the first Thanksgiving in 1621. Dennis's dad smiled. With pilgrims and natives? Oh, that must have been fun. Each year, Dennis said, I love Thanksgiving more and more. Let's go around the table and say what we're grateful for. Dennis's mom asked, what do you give thanks for on this very special day? My family, God, and country, Dennis and I both did say. After stuffing our faces, Dennis's mom and dad tucked us all in bed. They kissed Dennis on his cheek and patted me on my head. Good night, boys, said Mom and Dad as they shut the door. We closed our eyes and smiled, thinking of all we're grateful for. That was my favorite adventure yet, I whispered to Dennis. You say that every time, Otto. Well, I never knew about the first Thanksgiving and how special this holiday is. Dennis said, giving thanks for all our blessings is an important part of the American tradition. Plus, there's lots of yummy food to eat. Yes, Otto, the turkey, stuffing, and pumpkin pie really are delicious. Don't forget the cranberry sauce. But Thanksgiving is about more than tasty food, said Dennis. It's a special day set aside to give thanks and remember everything we're grateful for, especially for being American. I'm grateful for you, Dennis, I said, our family and America. Me too, Otto. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. Ruff, ruff. The end. I'm suddenly very hungry. How about you? My tummy's Otto, thank you. Pie, perfect for Thanksgiving. Now do you see why I love Thanksgiving so much? Thanksgiving is about being thankful to God for our blessings, and it's also about helping others, just like how Squanto helped the Pilgrims hundreds of years ago. You know, being thankful for and giving to others can and should be honored all year round, right? Right. Hey, would you like to share some of my pie? You got it. Thank you for watching Otto's Tales. Check out some of our other stories too. Keep reading, keep watching, and keep celebrating how grateful we are to live in America, one of the most special, blessed places in the world. Bye-bye. Happy Thanksgiving. All right, boy.
Look at this photograph. What do you see?
From this perspective, it looks dark and depressing. But look what happens when we zoom out. A very different picture emerges.
A lot of people treat American history like this photograph. They zoom in on one particular part and build a fancy frame around it.
This one piece is what American history is all about.
But you will miss out on seeing the whole picture if you only focus on one small part.
Or in other words, you need accurate perspective to make accurate conclusions. History shows us that America is different from other countries. Not perfect, but different in a really good way. But it's easy to take awesome things for granted until they're gone. Like your phone, and your money, and your electricity.
And an amazing country that provides liberty and equality for all people.
What's the big deal with that?
Well, the big deal is this thing called history.
The founders of America revolutionized the world by making a giant leap toward an ideal that all people have equal rights from God, that all men are created equal, and should be free to pursue life without the government's control. But in order to appreciate the leap that the founders made, we need to look at what life looked like before the revolution and what ultimately led up to it.
Today, we're zooming out to take an honest look at man's struggle for freedom and how the American Revolution came to be. Hey, I'm Daniel.
And I'm Lim.
And this is TBH History. The American Revolution didn't happen overnight. It was the culmination of centuries of debate and struggle. Many rulers throughout history believed they had divine power over their people, allowing them to do almost anything that they wanted, like take their property and throw them in prison. But the founders of America didn't really buy this mentality.
Very sus, bro.
Most of them drew their opinions on the role of government from principles found in the Bible. How do we know? Well, they said it themselves. A lot. Like, a whole lot.
And the government that they would set up would be deeply influenced by these Christian beliefs. They believed in the value of individuals because they believed individuals were made in the image of God, as seen in Genesis. And because individuals are made in the image of God, they have God-given rights that should be protected by the government, as found in the book of Proverbs and the epistles of Romans and 1 Peter.
AKA, government leaders couldn't just do whatever the heck they wanted with a divine card they pull out of thin air. Although most of the world did not practice these biblical principles, they gave people an ideal to strive for.
The founders weren't the first ones to attempt to implement these principles in government. Throughout history, most people lived under a king or an emperor. Basically, a big boss man that calls all the shots. None of this voting and representative democracy stuff. Heavy government oppression was the norm.
But these biblical principles sprouted in England all the way back in 1215. The king at the time, King John, was oppressive and threw burdensome taxes on the barons, or landowners, in his realm. So the barons banded together against him and drafted a document that basically said,
"You can't just throw us in jail and do whatever you want and stuff."
That document is what we call the Magna Carta. And although it wasn't honored by every following leader, it changed the world by showing people that you can actually stand up for the rights of people against an oppressive government and make a change, ultimately for the better.
But before we move on, let's zoom out. Now, you may be asking, what about all the people that weren't barons? And how could the Magna Carta be any good if it only protected barons? Well, remember the principle of zooming out? Let's put that to work. While it is true that the Magna Carta didn't protect everyone's rights, it began the long struggle in the West to limit the powers of the king and protect the rights of people. So when we zoom out historically, we see that although the Magna Carta wasn't perfect, it did push the world further toward equality and liberty, and set the stage for another major leap the founders of America would make centuries later.
Fast forward a few hundred years, and when colonists from England began establishing settlements in North America, their constitutions included many of the rights found in the Magna Carta. And even though the colonies were under the British Crown, they governed themselves and enjoyed more freedom than anywhere else in the world.
But in 1760, King George III ascended the throne. Unfortunately for the colonists, he and British Parliament acted like the oppressive King John back in the 1200s. Instead of respecting their rights, which had been acknowledged for centuries, he took away their right to govern themselves and ignored the promises made by King James I.
In the 1760s, the British government made laws forcing the colonists to pay taxes on sugar, newspapers, glass, lead, paint, paper, and tea. I ran out of fingers, okay. Since everyone needed to use these items in their homes, the taxes made life harder for many colonists and took money that they worked hard to earn.
But what was even more important than the cost of the tax was a key principle. If the government could ignore one of the rights listed in the colonial constitutions, it could ignore all of them. It could take away their possessions, their homes, and even throw them in prison without a good reason. And this might seem kind of ridiculous, but it wasn't really abnormal for kings to do. The colonists now faced the same problem as the barons in 1215. The seeds of freedom that had sprouted with the Magna Carta were now being uprooted by King George III.
The colonists were in a tough situation. They felt the British government was wrong, but they also understood that it would be risky to say so out loud.
King George is the worst.
Speaking out against the king would be considered heresy, something that kings usually aren't a huge fan of.
Never mind.
But in spite of the risks, the colonists began to make their voices heard by protesting against the government and boycotting British companies.
I'm not buying that tea.
They hoped these actions would convince the government to change its policies.
Things got very tense between America and Great Britain. Violence broke out, such as the Boston Massacre in March of 1770, where British soldiers stationed in Boston shot and killed a group of Americans. On December 16, 1773, another group of Americans, mad at the taxes on tea, went aboard British ships and dumped tea into Boston Harbor. You may have heard this referred to as the Boston Tea Party.
I'm not buying this tea.
All of these events served to anger both sides even further. Not all of the colonists, however, believed that the British soldiers were totally at fault for the Boston Massacre and worried that they had been provoked by a mob of angry Americans. Furthermore, not all of the colonists supported the dumping of British tea at Boston Harbor.
Seriously, man? What about the turtles?
Many of the founders were against the oppressive British policies, but also rejected lawless violence, even if it came from their own fellow colonists. They wanted a peaceful country where everyone respected the law and was treated equally.
But as King George III cracked down more and more, the chance for a peaceful solution seemed to be slipping away. In 1774, Britain tightened its control to intimidate the Americans and took away the right of the people of Massachusetts to govern themselves. The leaders of the other colonies realized that if the British government could impose tyranny over Massachusetts, it could do so across all of North America.
Delegates from 12 of the colonies met in Philadelphia in 1774, and delegates from 13 colonies met in 1775, calling themselves the Continental Congress, and tried to figure out what to do. Members included Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, John Adams, and Thomas Jefferson, just to name a few. They sent petitions to King George begging him to respect their rights, but these were rejected and met with the might of the British military. This convinced many Americans they had no other choice but to defend their rights by preparing for war.
That war began when British troops shot and killed colonists at Lexington, Massachusetts on April 19, 1775. And it was this shot, heard round the world, as some people say, that brought the Revolutionary War into full swing. But the Americans needed a leader. Someone capable of leading a group of farmers and merchants to defeat the greatest military the world had ever seen. In June of 1775, John Adams nominated George Washington of Virginia to command the Continental Army. On Washington's shoulders rested the fate of his country. He would later write, "Our cause is noble. It is the cause of mankind."
Washington and his fellow revolutionaries believed the seed of freedom and equality would survive in the world only if the American effort succeeded. In January of 1776, the author Thomas Paine published Common Sense, a pamphlet that electrified the colonies and convinced many Americans that the only way they could live free of tyranny was to declare full independence from Great Britain.
On July 4th, 1776, the Second Continental Congress did just that, adopting a document that declared them to be their own independent country, the United States of America. You may have heard of that document, the Declaration of Independence, and those famous 5 words, all men are created equal.
Although it was a monumental step, to many, this Declaration of Independence felt more like a death certificate, considering it was an act of treason against the most powerful empire on earth.
It took real courage. It wasn't like posting on Facebook.
America is the worst. You are so brave. You are a hero.
There were actual and serious real-life consequences to their actions.
They were all very aware it could cost them their lives, or as they put it, our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
But ultimately, they believed it was worth it because they were inspired by a conviction that the world could truly be a better place, that the long history of brutal kings and tyrants could come to an end, and that men and women could be free to pursue life as God intended it to be.
Now, obviously, they were imperfect men and didn't all live up to this ideal themselves. But when we zoom out, we see that they were determined to push the world further than it had ever been toward making this ideal a reality. And that's exactly what they did.
And the question quickly became, how much would this Declaration of Independence cost them, and were they truly prepared to pay the price? Was it really worth it? We'll find that out in the next episode.
Until then, let's make it personal with a couple thought-provoking questions.
What is the purpose of government?
Are you willing to make sacrifices for what you believe?
Thanks so much for watching this episode of TBH History, brought to you by PragerU.
If you're still watching this, please post an emoji of a farmer emoji, in the comments below. And to sweeten the deal, if you're the first one that posts the farmer emoji and you can tell us which character it relates to and why, we'll give you a shout out in the next video. Pretty sure unless our producer tells us we can.
Show them how to research. Show them how we research. Show them. Yes.
From now on.
Hey, aren't you happy?
Didn't know how slippery that was. I was not expecting the dog bark.
What if you could have all the money you want?
What would you do with that money?
Have you ever heard this saying?
A penny saved is a penny earned.
What does that even mean? And who still uses pennies?
Wow. Money can be scary and confusing, so here are 6 steps on how to earn and save money like a boss.
Number 1, find the things you're good at. I mean better than good. Good enough that people will want to pay you to do it. Maybe it's woodworking or juggling things that should never be juggled. Regardless, if you get good enough, eventually people will pay you for it. But that takes time. So while you work on your nunchuck skills, let's move to step 2.
Get a job. Don't sit around waiting for an Instagram model recruiter or a movie producer to come find you in your bedroom.
Hey kid, you want to start my movie? Are you for real, bro? No.
Unless you're in a movie with an unrealistic storyline, your first job is probably not going to be something you really love. You might get your start by mowing grass, or babysitting, or flipping burgers.
One eternity later.
You've got to start building your resume, and that means just doing some good old-fashioned hard work. Which brings us to tip 3.
Work hard. Everybody wishes that they had that special something that distinguishes them from somebody else. A special magical superpower that makes people respect them.
I respect you.
Well, I've got news for you. This superpower exists. What? But no one is born with it. It's called hard work. It's a superpower because so few people actually do it.
Good, bro.
And that means when you do, your boss is bound to notice. And before you know it, you'll be moving your way up the ladder.
Number 4, when you get paid, stop. When payday finally comes, it feels good. So good, it's almost impossible not to go on highly unintelligent spending sprees. But even if you're not spending your money on random stuff, most people are still tempted to spend money on things that they don't really need. And most people are broke. So don't be like most people. The first money that comes out of your paycheck needs to go in your back pocket or your savings account. This sounds really lame, but for most people, it doesn't actually rain money. It usually just rains problems. And you need an umbrella to prepare for those problems for when they come. And believe me, they will.
Number 5, spend less than you make. You know that joke when people make fun of someone at a chalkboard who can't add 2 + 2 correctly? Well, it turns out there's a lot of these chalkboard people. So don't be a chalkboard people!
I want to be a chalkboard people!
No! If you make $2, don't spend $3 or $4 or anything more than $2. Seems easy, right?
Wrong.
Millions of people cannot figure this out because they think they need this and then they need that and all of the things. Pretty soon that $2 made becomes $10 spent. That is called financial ruin. Dave Ramsey does not approve! Do not fall in love with doing things you can't afford. If you have friends that do expensive things, find other friends. That's what I did, but I haven't actually found them yet. I don't have friends. Remember, it's your money and you need it! So use your money to take care of your needs. It's okay to say, I'd love to, but I can't afford it. What you're actually saying is, I don't want to be the stupid chalkboard guy. I do not want financial destruction or the plague. 2 + 2 does not equal 22. We've been through this, people.
I'm sorry.
And if your friends don't understand, just let them be broke. Those people aren't gonna pay your bills if an emergency comes up, and there's always something else that you can do that doesn't cost anything and won't make you broke.
Number 6, make your money work for you. Money is a lot like seed. If you plant it, it can grow and multiply. But if you eat it, it will not grow. It will go in your stomach and into your colon, and do not eat the seed. 34% of Americans spend more money on coffee than they do on investments. That's a lot of chalkboard people. Ask your parents to help you invest your money.
The conclusion? You don't have to be broke.
You don't have to be the chalkboard people.
Go do something about it.
I guarantee you, there is more that you can do than you realize.
Thanks for watching this how-to video for PragerU. Hope you learned something new. See you next time. Donkey!
Ask your parents to accept my friend link on Robinhood so we both get a free stock.
That was so much fun. We hope you had a blast. Until our next marathon, keep celebrating Land of the Free and Home of the Brave, and always visit PragerU.com/kids to watch more. I'm gonna keep reading up here.